There we go. Hi, everyone. Okay, so there's an echo in the background, isn't there, for me? Please, could you mute yourself, Liam and Stephen, and see if that works. Last week, me and Stephen went live, and we went live. So I've just been doing some background checks. So before I run off and see what that echoing is, let's start off with some introductions, and then I'll go into what we're going to talk about today. So Stephen and then Liam, please introduce yourselves to the people that might not know you that are watching at the minute.
Okay, good morning, Jess, and good morning, Liam. Nice to see you both. My name is Stephen Lerman. I own a company called Chameleon BDS Limited, so an outsourced business development service. So for people that don't like to, don't want to, or don't have the resource to do their own appointment setting and cold calling, they can call me and we can get that job done. Not only do we do that, we also update CRMs and send out emails on your behalf. Thank you.
Too clever, that, Stephen. Too clever. I have to say, gosh, I'm pale into comparison by that. Hello, everyone. There must be millions of people watching Jess right now. Millions of WhatsApp groups I've shared this to. My name's Liam. I'm a direct consultant for BNI in Lancashire, supporting groups across Lancashire. And also, I'm the co-founder of a luxury bridal studio in Longridge in Preston. I'm really excited for this.
Such a great combination as well, isn't it? And I'm excited to see how we can kind of dig into how networking and thing works for both of them side of things. So that's cool. So for me, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jess. I help businesses get more customers, more sales, more profits, and actually reaching the sales targets through the brand. So one of my clients exceeded a sales target by 1,000%. By working with me. So it's that sort of targets that we're looking for. Together, we go through my 6-step brand loyalty process that works at giving you the tools and the knowledge to get your brand in front of the right people and stand out from the crowd. I have a quick video that explains the 6 steps. So if you're intrigued how that works, drop me a message and I'll send you the video and you can see the 6 simple steps and how they financially make an impact. So, okay. We all know each other, right?
Yeah.
Let's dig in. So we've got some absences today, unfortunately. Just put the blind down, so it's still a bit sunny where I am. So unfortunately, Una's still ill. Una normally hosts this session, so hence why you're hearing my voice a lot more. But hopefully she'll be back with us next week. Also, I was hoping to have JD on board. Is a friend of all of ours, and she is super at networking as well. And she works for a great company that helps a lot of businesses in a lot of ways, as well as the community. So I'm eager to get her on board another day. So you'll definitely hear from her. But unfortunately, she's been a bit ill this weekend as well. So hope you both get well soon if you're watching. Yeah. So let's dig in. For those of you that are watching, please ask questions, write your opinions, anything in the chat box, and then we can involve you in our conversation. Also, we can answer any questions like here and now. Whereas if you're watching on the replay, we will get back to you, but it will just depend on when we are back on LinkedIn. As well, if you're watching on replay, comment #replay, and we know you're out there. We do these every week, so it's great. We do hear feedback every week of people enjoying them. So it's great. We hear that, but show us in the comments, talk to us, show us that you're here, and we can make it more interactive. So the topic today, networking and referral marketing for success. Okay, so I want to talk to, we brought Liam on board because of obviously you're part of BNI, which is huge. This isn't going to be a join BNI kind of session, but we just want to share some of the experiences, some of the tips, some of the things that we've seen along our BNI journeys, as well as other journeys as well. So don't think that everything that we're talking about is related to BNI. You can implement it everywhere and anywhere. You can even implement it on your social media when you're networking with people online. So please stick around to hear them. So I'm going to talk about tips, mistakes, get into our experiences, and hopefully yours as well if you're watching. So Liam, let's get the ball rolling. Let's start with maybe a couple of mistakes that you that you see within networking and how maybe easily they are to fall into them traps and how easy it is to get out of it as well. So what opinion and what things do you have to say around that?
Well, I mean, first of all, Jack, you're absolutely right. I mean, we can talk about any networking here. I mean, like you guys, you probably go to many different networking events, from chamber to kind of shout and bob and unique ladies to BNI. There's so much out there in terms of networking. In fact, I say quite often, we are blessed in the Northwest for so much networking opportunity and to build relationships. And actually, I think probably you would agree that actually, as sort of Northerners, we're quite good at building relationships. We're not standoffish. We like to get involved in stuff. We like to be part of a team. And there's so many mistakes. There's so many faux pas that I see quite often, and I always kind of write notes before I come on to any of these things. And I think the first sort of not mistake, but the first view that people take of networking is they go without a purpose. They go without a purpose, and sometimes I think people believe that, or business people believe that the purpose is just to go and turn up, and they get referrals from it, because ultimately that's why we go to networking, right? We go for referrals. The tea and coffee and the whatever bacon sandwiches or the pizza is great, but we actually go for referrals. I'm sure we would much rather be under our heated blankets at home, right? I would anyway. No offense to everyone I network with, but I would. So go with a purpose. And I think the timing of networking is important as well, because if you're going to a networking event, say, I don't know, Friday morning, and on the Monday you're going on holiday for 2 weeks, I have to say, I don't think there's much point actually in going to that networking event on that Friday. I think, and somebody much brighter than me once told me, do you know what? Go with the aim of booking in 2 coffees with people that you meet, and make sure you follow them up the next day. And if you're therefore going away the day after, well, you can't follow them up, and it gets 2 weeks, and then it's maybe another month before you see them again. So what's the point in originally going to that networking event? So go with the intention of booking in 2 coffees, or at a minimum of 2 coffees with people that you see. And that's sort of the first 4 part, is going without a purpose.
I think it's so true. And thinking of it, I think that's really an effective way of thinking of it, not just as, oh, it's an hour event, I've got to take an hour out of my day to do that. But then how does that affect you the few days down the line? So thinking about it like that, and when networking opportunities come up all the time, don't they?
All the time.
I'm a serial networker. When I first started, it was my way of getting in front of people, because I jumped into running my own business. I kind of jumped in the deep end and was like, okay, I want to do my own business, quit my job, and I've got my business. And then was like, okay, where is everyone? How do I get in front of people? So networking was how I built that up. And then, I just loved it. I loved meeting people. I loved talking about what I did. I loved hearing about other people's story, learning. I learn a lot when I network. But I soon found that I was just jumping to and from events, and I weren't catching up with people. Nothing were following through. Nothing were really happening, for many reasons, but one being my networking strategy. Completely agree with that. And as well, this past couple of years, if that's taught us anything, it's how we adapt these sort of strategies as well. Because we have had to adapt that strategy with not being able to meet in person, and maybe it's for some people not networking at all. Learning from that as well. So I love that point. Stephen, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I was about to say a couple of mistakes that I think are quite big ones are people go to networking with the intent of just collecting business cards. And that is a big one, because then, a couple of weeks down the line, you're thinking, why have I got this? Who is this person? What's the connection, and how am I going to gain anything from it? So it's not just about collecting business cards. Like you said, Liam, you've got to go with a strategy with a purpose. And the second one is you go into a networking event and you see people that you already know, and you spend your time talking to them instead of building new relationships. That is a complete waste of time. I avoid people that I know, because it's all about building those new relationships, because I probably got everything I'm going to get. I mean, it's nice to see friends, don't get me wrong. It's great to say hello and, have a quick catch. We can do that outside of this networking event. This is a defined period of time where you've got an opportunity, but all the people that you want to talk are in one place and they can't escape from you. Really. Yeah. So take best advantage of that time that you've got together and start to create those meaningful relationships.
Yeah. Let's roll on this then. We've kind of naturally fallen into this conversation. So let's talk about a strategy behind networking. So for those of you that are watching, you think, I do loads of networking, but I don't get any results. Or, maybe you're thinking, I'm a pro networker, like, what is this about? But maybe you want more from it, or maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something going on that you want to, spot, I suppose. As soon as we spot what's going on, then we can fix it. So whatever, level of networking you're at, whether you're comfortable or not comfortable, let's talk about the strategy. So let's split it into 3 sections. Let's the 3 of us, let's discuss the before we go to a networking event. Then let's go on to what we do whilst we're there and what we do at the end. So to start off with the before. So I think off the top of my head as well, we've not practiced this, so let's see how we go. whereas I think about before I go networking, I think of a few things. But one, I check to see if the networking group is right for me. So does it have any people that I can partner with? Does it have any potential referral partners that I could build a relationship with through my own business? So for me, there are companies like business coaches, website developers, other marketing agencies. These are great connections. Also, ideal clients. So for me, product-based, food and drink, people that have this product that it needs to stand out in some way or other from other identical products. They're great for me. So I think, okay, who's in the room that I know I can give value to on that front? So vetting the room, vetting the group, that's something that I definitely do, as well as timing. Like we said, thinking, okay, do I have the time to do this event, or would it be a wasted hour because I'm going on holiday next week and I can't follow up, things like that. So that would be my first point of call. What about you guys, Liam? What about you? What's that first thing that you start off with?
Yeah, absolutely. Sort of vetting the attendees or the delegates on the list and knowing, actually, yeah, I do want to speak to them, and actually, who knows that person? That walking up to somebody, I find difficult. There's somebody who I don't know, going, hi, I'm Liam, who wants a really small Lancastrian, approaching them. Nobody is the answer. So who knows that person as well? Do a little LinkedIn research, and with anything, I mean, I'm not going to use the words be specific. I'm going to stay away from that, but actually understand who you want to speak to before you go, as in who they may know. So, actually, John knows so-and-so construction. You know what? I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to talk to them about actually having a link up with them. So understanding who you want to speak to, who may not be in the room, who may have a link with them. And also, before you go, if you're a little bit nervous about networking, as I am most times, I go networking, I get to the venue early, I understand where I'm going to park, and all them little things just make it a little bit easier to network. And every networking event has a different style to it as well. Some might be a bit more formal, some might be kind of stand up or listen to a guest speaker, whatever. Try and understand best you can how it works, how it flows, what time you're going to be away. Things like dress code as well. There's some informal networking, there's some really formal networking. So understand what that event really looks like. Speak to people who may have already been.
Yeah, I love that. I'm ferociously writing notes as we're speaking as well. So if it looks like I'm a bit dazed away, that's why. And I'm hoping to then be able to put it on the screen. So for those of you that maybe are struggling to hear us, or I don't want to hear our voices, but want to kind of see what's going on, I'll put it on the screen too. So yeah, Stephen, what about you? What would you like to share?
You're very good at multitasking, Jess. I can't do that. I can't write notes.
Well, I say this, but last week, me and you were having this great conversation, weren't we? And I was multitasking away, and then all of a sudden it didn't work.
Got to press go live. Well, it wasn't even that. It's not your fault. So the tips: make sure you've got plenty of business cards. Always a good tip, because the last thing is you want to go, I'm so sorry, I've run out of business cards. Can I borrow one of yours and make some? No, not good. So make sure you've got plenty of business cards. And obviously a working pen. And just to carry on with the theme, what you guys first mentioned, I always try to get the delegate list. So if I can, I can cross off who, not to say that word specifically, who I intentionally want to talk to. If it's like a conference where there's going to be the delegates are there. And even sometimes you even get the email addresses beforehand. So you could preempt that meeting by saying, hi, I'm going to be at this networking event. I was wondering if you could spare 10, 15 minutes for a quick chat and a coffee. And that way you've got more of a purpose. You structure, you're using your time efficiently, because generally these networking events are only like 1.5, 2 hours, so you want to make best use of that time. So that you've done the best that you can in the time that you've got.
Yeah, it's a good tip. I like that. Go with plenty of business cards.
I love that one about getting the email addresses beforehand. So I'm just going to put that in there so everyone can see that too.
I just to follow on that really quickly. Sorry. So I used to work for a different company, and my boss at the time was very big on contacting people prior to, would send them all a letter. And sometimes, it would work great. because I knew that if there was any engagement prior to us meeting up on the day, you can say, oh, you got that letter, thanks for taking the time to meet with me, etc., etc. So it breaks that that cold introduction, doesn't it? Because you've already had some type of interaction with them prior to. So it makes it a little bit easier to go up to say, Liam, hi, you got my email. Thank you so much for replying. Look, great to meet you, etc., etc. So
yeah, very good.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is really powerful, because if I got an email from someone that, was, oh, I'm attending this group, I've seen that you're attending it as well. I don't know, I've seen your name around, and I'd love for us to have the chance of getting to know each other a little bit more at the event. I'll get there at such a time, would love to see you and have a chat with you when you're there. Like, how warming is that, even before, for that person that you're talking to, then to turn up to this event knowing that there's someone there that wants to talk to them? How much of a difference, I suppose, would that have, thinking about it that way, not only for yourself, knowing, when you walk in, you know who you want to go to, but the other person, when they see you, they'll go, oh, yeah, like, come over here. And it makes all that kind of a lot more enjoyable. So again, for those that are maybe thinking, I'm a huge introvert, I hate networking, but I have to do it. And when I walk into the room, I don't know where to go. Your mouth starts to sweat, you're getting the drink, you're stood there, you're kind of like, oh, I know that person, I'll kind of weasel into their conversation. That, what you said, Stephen, would kind of eliminate that scenario. So I love that. That's great. Before we move on, another one that I would like to mention as well is having your elevator pitch, or having some sort of, kind of blurb, if you will, about yourself, prepped and planned before. Because there's a couple of ways that it could go when you're starting talking about your own business and yourself. And I've fallen into both of them traps to find the nice middle ground. You can meet someone and go, hey, I'm Jess, I do blah, 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 blah. And you can talk for about 10 minutes, and you can see the person like looking behind you, or like, like hiding a yawn away or something. And you can go into too much detail firsthand. Or you can go the complete opposite and just say, oh, yeah, I'm Jess, I'm a brand consultant. And then they go, oh, okay, well, what do I say back to that? So having something, something that's compelling, but then also something that doesn't go into too much detail, but then you can follow up when questions are asked. So, oh, how do you do that? Or, oh, like, who would you do that for? Oh, that sounds interesting. Then you can follow it through. So that's something else that I find really helpful to have prepared. Liam, look like you were
well, no, you're right. I mean, it's no secret that I make a living about hiding what I do, and actually I get more business by hiding what I do, by making people inquisitive about what I do, rather than that 10-minute. You go, oh, this is what I do. I'm Jess, I'm a brand consultant. I can do this, and I can make your life so much easier. But if I always go with, I always ask 10 questions before I answer one about myself. So I'll be prepared with 10 questions about somebody. So Stephen, you're an appointment, said, tell us about that. Why do you do that? What's your family like? And then they'll go, actually, well, what about you? And it gives you a license then to go, well, actually, thank you very much for asking. Just give me a couple of minutes. Let me tell you about it. And it almost, obviously you're interested in other people, but it absolutely makes sure that they know that you're more interested in them than talking about you. And ultimately they become more inquisitive. And then the sale is almost easier, because they're asking you, saying, well, actually, you tell me. And I just love that sort of stuff.
I love that. And then 10 questions. So if someone said, right, okay, I'll write 10 questions, we won't go through all 10, but they could range from, I don't know. Come on, give me some examples. What could they range from?
Well, I mean, the fairly easy stuff is, why'd you do it? Why are you? I mean, things like, if you weren't a brand consultant, what would you be? Then talk about, well, actually, what's your family like? What do you do to relax? I mean, all these things are included within a business conversation, where you can say, well, outside of business, how do you relax? How do you switch off? How's the last couple of years been for you? What does a good referral look like? I mean, the phrase, and please don't steal it if you want, guys. I mean, it's not secret, but my go-to sort of question in open networking, even beforehand, I mean, I know we're maybe still on the topic of before, but is, if a referral lands on your desk today and it's a file and it's absolutely perfect for you, it's the right price, it's got loads of profit in it, it's the right person, the perfect avatar, what would that person look like? What would that referral look like? And that can be a really good answer, can really lead people into a really good answer. It gives you a really good understanding of what their business is about. So that sort of question. And then, of course, the personal questions as well, kind of, I don't know, football, rugby, whatever you want to ask. So there's easily 10 questions that you can ask people before you start speaking about yourself.
Love that. Stephen, anything to add on that?
So I'm a relationship builder. So I always tend to, have conversations, and I try to avoid everything that I'm doing about what I'm doing before I get to it. So I make people feel comfortable. So like if we're on a Zoom, and obviously, Liam, I can see in your background, you've got Oasis. Is it a book or a picture and a guitar, an album? So I know you must be into music, like indie music or rock music. So I like to ask questions, and I like to make people feel at ease, because it's more of a consultative approach. Everybody wants to buy, they just don't want to be sold to, is my opinion. So I try to put people at ease, schmooze, if you will. My girlfriend says I'm a bit cheesy, but I just think it's my personality, and that's what that's how I warm to people. People warm to me. So I always try to leave what I do to the very last minute. I'm having a conversation and said, "Oh, and by the way, I'm calling on behalf of such and such because this is what I do. Are you interested?" Well, I'm paraphrasing, but that's how I do it, because I just think asking questions makes people feel like you're interested in what they've got to say. That's the way I do it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you both brought that on, because asking questions is it's great. It's great, because we're, at the end of the day, we've built our businesses, and we're delivering our service because we want to help and want to add value, or we know that we can help and we know that we can add value in some way. So asking questions, is a great way to be able to find that out for ourselves as well. And that, I think, that definitely does prevent, the talking too much, because you can almost have an out of body experience, can't you, and think, oh my God, Jess, shut up, you're talking too much, still going, stop it. But asking them questions, just then you know what to say, and you can give the right advice, you can talk about the right points that are relevant. And like you said before, Liam, not just for the people in the room, but who do they know as well? Their questions to find out that as well. Amazing. So much prep, but such easy done. And once you've done it, you can use it kind of wherever you go, and you can just tweak it slightly. So let's move on to whilst you're there then. Also as well, just to quickly go back to what you said, Liam, about looking at where the event is, planning where you're going to park, getting there on time. Something that came to mind, just a funny kind of little story. I'm not a natural planner. I would go with the flow. I to just turn up. I have to drill it into me to plan and then think, right, where am I at? Whereas my boyfriend, he's a huge natural planner. He will plan for days before he's even gone anywhere. So he is the one that the day before he's on Google Maps and he's doing the journey through Google Maps, pressing the arrows. He's literally going down the roads he needs to go down to know where he's at. So there is natural, people that naturally do it and people that don't. But it's a good point to kind of bring up. Okay, so any questions again, please let us know and we'll answer whilst we're here. Whilst you're there, okay, so we've walked into the room, say we have, introduced ourselves to a couple of people we know are going to be there. We're in the room now, we're talking to them people. How do we make the most out of being in that room? Liam, if you don't mind, I'll start with you. What tip do you have to get the most out of being there in the first place?
Well, gosh, so many kind of nuances to this, but I think it all falls under one category, and the category is don't be a knob. And you go networking, and I'm blessed to meet so many people in life, whether it's in business or whatever, and I genuinely love everybody that I meet, and I try and get involved and whatever. But there are people out there that they've registered a limited company and they think that they're Richard Branson, right? And you go networking, they think, wow, I've made it, etc., and that's great. And you're so ambitious, brilliant. But at the same time, we're all there at these events to help get business for ourselves and help each other. I think we all kind of turn up and go, actually, I can link you up with that person. How good does that feel? But if you're not amenable to having a good conversation, I would just talked about talking 90% of the time. But I think that talking 90% of the time is okay if Stephen and I are having a conversation and you asked me 10 questions, Stephen, I'd feel quite legitimate to answer them fully and talk about myself because you asked me about it. But if that sort of 10, there weren't 10 questions and I rattled on for 10 minutes and then didn't ask you any questions, I would put that under the category of being a knob at networking. Things like body language, being closed off, not maybe talking to new people in the room. Stephen, you said you were brilliant. You love sort of targeting, wrong word, but right attitude, new people in the room. Just thinking maybe more of yourself than actually, getting involved and being there and being in the room and being, and I know we're all a little bit nervous, but actually just don't be a knob. I think you'd put it under. I mean, you can decipher that and dissect that how you want, Jess, really, but that's pretty much how I would categorize it.
That's the technical term.
Yeah.
Body language is a key thing though, because when I first started out, a couple of the training sessions that I went on were about how to network more effectively. And I went on a few, like I said, when I first started out, I jumped in the deep end and I kind of was sat in my spare bedroom like, okay, where do I start? So I did go on a lot of these courses and training things as well. And one of them was the body language whilst you're networking. And some things that I've remembered since, and it is just natural body language anyway, that always come into networking. So whether you're networking or not, you folding your arms whilst you're talking to someone is quite reserved, isn't it? So, kind of being a bit more relaxed. That's why I like to have a glass of water or something in my hand, because then I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah, good point.
So, having that, where your feet are pointing as well, in a sense of if you're having a, closed conversation with someone, I can't do an example because I'm in the room on my own, but your shoulders, your feet, everything is facing towards that one person. And for someone else looking in, they're going to think, oh, that's a bit of an intense conversation. I won't get involved in that. And then before you know it, you and this person have just been talking to each other for half an hour. Yeah. So, having that diagonal kind of stance, looking around whilst you're speaking and, not being rude, not looking in the complete opposite direction, but, having the area so it is open for other people to come in and floor that networking. And like, who was it? One of you said, you don't, Stephen, I think it was you, if you know the person, you don't necessarily want to speak to them because you have a one-to-one with them and you want to build that relationship up outside the room. So again, if this person, you're like, but I really want to speak to this person, there and then arrange a call for after the meeting, arrange to see them tomorrow, arrange to have a coffee, that kind of what are you doing next? So body language, I love that point. Michael, let's put this up here. Open body language, huge help in engaging with the other person in the conversation. And that's another really good point. I've been in conversations with people where you do feel a bit isolated. You think, I don't know how I can participate in this, and and so making sure everyone feels welcome and open to conversation as well is a great point. Stephen, anything to add before we move on?
You've just nailed 2 points that I was actually going to suggest. The first one is be humble. Everyone's in the same position. Don't go in there thinking you're the cat's meow. I won't say knob. I just did, but yeah. Well, so everyone's in the same position as you. In theory, people are going to be nervous, going to be looking to engage in conversation, especially if they're turning up on their own. They want to jump into a conversation, so they might stand on the periphery for a while. They're trying to find an opportune moment to jump in, and that's why the next part about body language is so important. So instead of standing face on, stand open. So there's an opportunity for them to come in. They see an opening, and we were taught that. I know we're not talking about BNI, but we were taught that in BNI when you go into open networking. Stand at an angle so people can, naturally just walk into a conversation. That's what we want it to be. It's informal. Networking is informal. It's an opportunity for anyone and everyone to engage with other people in conversations where there may be an opportunity to add value or get something from a conversation or potential future relationship. Yeah,
love that.
Yeah, I love it. And you can tell as we're talking about this, we're not with the kind of analytical driven mindset of we're forced, we're focused. It is open to I like when you said open-minded, you know, I like that, you know, open to who you're going to meet, what conversations you're going to have, not having your guards up instantly to, you know, and again, something that you said, Stephen, I want to repeat, people want to buy, they just don't want to be sold to. So all this stuff we're talking about is, you know, we've talked about it in cold calling, how to get your script right, and we've talked about it in on your website, how you do this sort of thing, on making people feel welcome and you know, and comfortable on your website to move on and kind of see what value you can offer. We've talked about it from all different angles, so it all kind of relates. By the way, if you want to see back to any of the other lives that we've seen, drop me or Stephen a message with anything that you might want to, you know, have you done a live about this in particular, and we can send you the video if we have, because we've been doing these for a while now, so we've got a lot, you know, we've got a lot behind the scenes that we've done, so we can pull things out for you and help you in any way your business that you've got going on. Okay, great. So I'm excited for this next bit because it's something that I do struggle with, or it is a challenge for me when I network. Follow up. Okay, and I want to share a story, right, of someone that attended my networking group last week, and it's going to be a hit and miss story because I love what they've done, but I still need to follow up from that message as well. So it's a good and bad story on that point. But yeah, a guest came to our networking group. No one, I don't know who brought him, but he knew hardly anyone in the room. Stood up, did a very good presentation himself, networked very well. And then yesterday I had a missed call, listened to the voicemail, and it was this guy that attended my group last week. And he says, "Oh, I attended your group last week. I told you I've got this going on. And I wanted to have a chat with you to see if it's something that you or any clients would be interested in talking about further." And I've not called him back yet because yesterday was a hectic day for me. But I thought, what a great use of being at that group. And I thought, if, you know, I took something away from it to think, you know, I want to step my game up and do more of that follow-up. So yeah, I wanted to share that example of you know, engaging with them conversations after and how to do that. So with all the stuff we've spoke about as well, you've been in the room, I suppose. You've been the person triggering that conversation. So, you know, you've been there in the room. But when you're following up, you're necessarily not there in front of that person. So that is where everything else in your business kind of comes in. You know, your brand, your reputation, your values, how you're talking to people on the phone, you know, who have you got calling, following up these people and things like that. Having all that aligned is just as important as well. But yeah, follow-up strategy. Stephen, I know you talk a lot about this through the work that you do with your clients as well. And, you know, when you're cold calling, you've got to keep that pipeline going, that funnel going. You've got to keep following up. What tips do you have around following up and how people can do that in a natural way if they might feel that they're hounding people? Oh, I won't call them yet. I only saw them yesterday. Oh, I don't want to hound them. You know, what advice do you have for people that might be thinking like that?
Well, first and foremost, the fortune is in the follow-up. You can have the most amazing conversations, but if you don't follow up with people, you might as well just thrown that amazing opportunity in the bin. So there's a fine line between hounding and just being not aggressive, but I can't think of the word. The word escapes me. But what you want to do is make a phone call, leave a message. And then I would, if you don't hear anything in 24 hours, I would send them an email. You know, I'm assuming you've got their details. And just, you know, I'd be polite in the email, say, "Hi, further to our conversation, we met at the networking event 2 days ago. Really interested in having a further conversation with you. I think there may be an opportunity for us to maybe work together or collaborate, if you will. When will be a great time to call?" And obviously, what I like to do when I'm making appointments with people is don't say, when would be a great time? Say, are you available? Give them a couple of opportunities. So give them like Monday at 3 or Tuesday at 4. So if you generally give people a couple of opportunities, they'll pick the last one that you mention. So whether it's on a phone call or whether it's in an email, say, you know, give them time slots that's available. And then they'll maybe have a look at the diary and think, okay, it's actually, he wants to talk to me or she wants to talk to me. I can't do then, but I can do then. You know, it's all about the touch points. You know, it used to be you could get away with closing a deal or a sale in maybe about 2 or 3 touch points. Now it's about 6 or 7. So you might have to call email several times before they finally get back to you. But that's just a natural progression. That things have changed. I have a client. We have it's a 6 touch point system: phone call, email, phone call, email, phone call. The email's the same, worded slightly differently, the same message, and eventually they're either going to say, no, please don't call me, don't contact me ever again, or they'll engage with you. But it's about touch points, but you've got to have that follow up, because if you've not got it, then everything you've done prior to is a complete waste of time.
I like it. I mean, you're far more intelligent than me about this, Stephen. But what I would say is that if you are, and there are some networking opportunities where this is not possible. You go to a chamber event and there's 200 people. You're not going to be able to follow up on all 200 people, but there are going to be a handful of people that you've got business cards from, you had a conversation with. Absolutely. Then touch point with them, call them either later that day or the next day, depending on the timing of the event. But if you're sort of part of a networking group, which is sort of a closed networking group, in that there's a membership of maybe 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people, and you have 2 or 3 guests that come down a week, as we all know, that's how it works in networking groups. And somebody said to me a few months ago, what a really brilliantly legally legitimate way to cold call somebody who you would never have spoke to before. You may have only just seen them for a second and said hello, good morning that morning at the networking event, but calling them afterwards and going, hi, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk. I'm just wondering if you've got some time. I can learn a little bit more about your business. What a legal way of cold calling somebody. I just think that's epic. And why would you miss out on that opportunity of having 3 new people in your pipeline every single week?
Just to follow up on that, so if you're at a networking event and you're meeting, say you go to a regular networking event every week, and like you say, there's 3 or 4 people that come every week, add those to your database, because you just never know when you might want to talk to them, might need them, or might be able to help, or you might be able to help them. So build your own database from visitors that you meet at a networking event. Like you say, pick 3 or 4, the ones that you think that you can add value to, and vice versa. Because, like you said, with the chamber, you've got 200 people. It's nigh on impossible to contact all of those and maintain that relationship. So is it somebody said, don't go a mile wide, go a mile, and don't go a mile wide, go a few inches deep. So pick the 3 or 4 that you want to. And maintain that relationship, rather than trying to pick 200 and trying to manage those relationships, because that's going to be impossible.
The phrase that I try and use is it's not the breadth of relationships, it's the depth of the relationship. It's singular. So
yeah, I think as well that's a really good point for people that maybe aren't following up at all, and then they're listening to this thinking, oh my god, like, how am I going to find the time to call all these people and leave all these messages, and how am I going to fit that in? And I think if you're not doing anything at all, just doing something, even as small as it is, would make such an impact. So that's where really knowing your strengths comes in handy. Because like I said, I'm naturally an extrovert, so I love networking. So for me to leave a voice note to someone, to do a quick video, or call someone up, it doesn't take much of my energy. But if you are quite introverted, if that does take you a lot of time and sort your energy up, what other ways can you do it? So another way that I, with them touch points that you were saying, Stephen, another way that I do that is I'm active on LinkedIn a lot. I love LinkedIn because, like I said, I love talking to people and networking, and LinkedIn allows me to do that all day, every day, if I let it. So I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot, keeping up with my my connections, my referral partners and things like that, and keeping them relationships up and building them a little bit deeper. So even if for me, if I'm struggling for time after a network event, if I'm connecting with these people, sending them a private message saying, hey, it was great to see you yesterday, I'd love to chat to you a little bit more sometime, and asking questions through that means as well, comment, engaging on their activity if they're active on something like LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, whatever your platform is. So really looking at what your plan is, what your strategy is as a whole, and how you can fit this sort of stuff within what you're already doing. So we don't want you to feel overwhelmed or how am I going to include all this in this my to-do list is already endless. How am I going to fit this in? Look how you can use what we're talking about in what you're already doing now. Yeah, Liam, did you have anything to add on to that?
No. No, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's if we're saying, just going back to an early point, if we're saying that we don't have time to follow up, it's almost like we're saying we don't have time to develop new business for our company, because it is such a valuable way to generate new opportunities or inquiries or a bit of noise about your company. That we actually have to find time to follow people up. We have to have it as a priority over, in some ways, the VAT return or whatever it may be. It has to be up there as going, you know what, new business is a priority. We may be really busy now. We may have so many inquiries on, but you never know. So please make sure to follow up on them conversations the day after, even later on in the afternoon if the sort of networking event is in the morning.
Yeah, and hopefully let us know if we've given you enough tips and advice to help you do that and feel confident about that. And if you still, like I said, if you still pushed it to the bottom of the list, and like Liam's just said, you can't be doing that. So if you want to know ways of how you can stop doing that, or maybe you don't feel too confident or comfortable at something we've said, reach out to one of us. If you're not connected to one of us or all of us, connect with us. Liam's obviously he's the guest this week, so it's great to have you. So for those of you that haven't seen Liam before, connect with him, follow him, ask him questions as well. Michael, as we were speaking, just put it's not who you know, but how well you know them that counts. He corrected himself on another comment, saying them, not then. But yeah, it's true, isn't it? You can know everybody in the entire world, but if you don't know them very well, then what's that really going to do for you? So yeah, great point to have. Stephen, do you have anything that you want to add on to that, what we've just been talking about?
Well, I think everything's been covered. If I could, well, I guess it's kind of like network. It's kind of related to networking. The best time to look for new business or new opportunities is when you're busy. Because if you're not, and you go to a network, let's say you go to a network opportunity and you've got no business coming in, you'll just talk to anybody, and it might be a completely meaningless conversation just for this. Oh, well, I networked. But what was the point? You've got to go. Like, it goes back to the very beginning. The first thing we talked about, a strategy. So go when you're busy, and you'll be able to. I hate to use this word, cherry pick. Who you want to talk to, but it's true. Otherwise it's a fool's errand, isn't it? You're talking to loads of different people and you got nothing from it because you're scrambling for opportunities.
Yeah. Great point. I've put that in so everyone could see that as well. Definitely, because when you're busy, you can think, I've not got time for it, or I don't need it right now. But yeah, just building them relationships up can help in the long run. It's a conversation that I've had similar. Even yesterday, I was talking, saying I don't need to do that yet because I've not got the capacity to do it. But then they were like, yeah, but if you don't do it now, when you do want to do it, when you do have the capacity to do it, you're not going to have the opportunities there and the option to do it. So yeah, makes complete sense. I'd love to pick your brains, Liam, a little bit more about, you've got two completely different hats with your two businesses.
Yeah.
So you are in two completely different mindsets when you're talking about each one of these, these businesses that you've got. So how do you, it's going to be a bit of a broad question, so I'll warn you now. How do you kind of manage that? How do you know which hat to put on when? Or if you're networking and find a good opportunity for the other business, how do you jump? What advice do you have around your experiences on that?
Yeah, it's a great point. I suppose the networking events that I attend, or even just, I know we've not really touched on kind of referral marketing in that way, but I actually, if we're talking purely about events right now, I attend each event with a different hat on. So I never try and merge the two. And one is very much kind of a personal services business in kind of the bridal industry. And that needs slightly different networking, I have to say. And then the other, actually networking within networking, is also different. So I actually don't try and merge the two, and I keep them fairly separate. If somebody asks me about them, then I'll talk, of course, mention it. But there are different events for different things that I attend, and that's me and my personality and need to separate the two. I'm not clever enough to be able to do both at the same time. So yeah, I tend to do it differently, and the sort of the bridal industry is a bit more. I don't tend to go to the mass events like the chamber events where there's 200 people. It's very much trying to build relationships actually over LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, which is a huge market. I mean, we've networking over social media is a thing. You know, we build really good relationships with people over social media. Certainly Instagram in that world is really good for us. So I separate the two, and that's the simple answer, because it's true.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Amazing. So yeah, like you said, we haven't really touched on referral marketing as much. So we probably should do a follow-up, or a part 2, should I say, a part 2 of this conversation. So when Una and JD are feeling better again, let's all of us get back together again. And touch on networking like we've done today, but maybe focus on the referral marketing side of things. So if you're watching and you want to see that, or that sounds like a good a good one for you to watch, then let us know and we'll bump it to the top of the list. We'll make sure it comes sooner rather than later, and things like that. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for joining us. Thank you, Michael, for your comments. It's been great to have you engaging with us. Thank you, Liam, for coming and being you and helping us and having these great conversations. Before we do leave, maybe Stephen, from you first, what piece of advice or what tip or what's the most significant part of our conversation that you would like to reiterate to people before we leave?
Most important, when you go to a network event, be prepared, have a purpose. There's 3 things. So be prepared, have a purpose, and take plenty of business cards.
Yeah. Liam, what about you?
One we haven't mentioned: hold yourself accountable for your actions, both in when you're there and in the follow-up.
Yeah. See, there's so much that we could still stay here for a couple of hours, couldn't we? Talking.
Yeah,
There's so much. For me, I think we have covered on a lot, but having the 3 sections and thinking about them all, the beginning, the middle, and the end. Even if you take one tip or one strategy or one technique that we've talked about today in each of them things, when you're next networking, you will see better results, and let us know how you get on. So yeah, really, really amazing, and see you all next week. As normal, we do these lives every week, and we've got some new exciting topics coming up. Stephen, we're getting together with Una in the next week or so, aren't we, to plan the new topics for the next few months. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thank you for joining us, and
thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.